guys, so it is Sunday again, so it is church time. Praise the Lord. All right, so today we're talking about worry. I was listening to Oprah's Super Soul Conversations. She's doing a series with Eckhart Tolle right now, who of course I love. I always thought, I was always trained to not have sex before marriage. So then when I lived in Asia, I had just graduated from college and I went to teach English in Korea. And then I got back from a trip home where some really big stuff happened. And I thought, what am I doing? I'm so lonely. And anyway, and because I had sex and I wasn't obviously married, I thought, what if I can't have a relationship with God anymore? And I was really depressed because me and that guy broke up and whatever. And Eckhart Tolle and A New Earth brought me up out of the darkness. Like that book, talking about, people and their pain body and their ego really helped me not to personalize what was happening and helped me kind of to see myself and the people in my family even in a different way. So if you haven't read A New Earth, I would suggest you do. Especially if you're an anxious person, it's so helpful. So today we're going to talk about what Eckhart Tolle says about worry. One of the things he says about worry that really resonates with me is worry pretends to be necessary but serves no useful purpose. So those of us who grew up in a situation, like I remember talking to my therapist about this. So if you grew up and in your developmental years between 1 and about 3 or 4, in those years, human connection and eye contact is tantamount to survival. So basically, if you have enough connection to feel safe, your nervous system develops in kind of a normal way. If not, as an adult, what can happen is you can develop an anxiety disorder. And what happens there is when you meet someone or you have a close relationship with someone and they go away or they disappear or they don't text you enough if it's really serious, you can feel anxiety and kind of an internal panic that actually comes from feeling that way as a small child. So thinking about worry pretends to be necessary but serves no real purpose, that voice in your head that tells you this is the worst case scenario, get ready, that voice served you at one point. That voice, when you were little and you had no power over your surroundings, that voice that was like, get ready because this is the worst thing that could happen and this is how we're gonna get ready, that voice now is a saboteur in your head. And that worry and that anxiety that you have actually is just stealing your joy in this moment. Because what I've learned and what I think I actually read it in A New Earth is anything that happens, anything that really comes up happens in the present moment. So you have anxiety about the future, but all of those pictures you're painting, all those stories you're telling, that's never gonna happen. Those are fiction. Even if something like that happened, it would happen in a totally different way, and you would be in a different place than you are at this moment to be able to handle it. Anything that happens in this moment, let's say today I get an eviction notice. We're waiting for eviction notices here. We're being rent evicted here, Vancouver. And so we're waiting. When it comes, I will be able to deal with it in its time. What I can't deal with is the story of catastrophe that is in my head. Because again, I have no power over it because it's fiction, right? So that is something huge. Worry is not necessary. It is not, the emergency you feel in your body is fictional. So if you can separate yourself from it and go, that's a story. In this moment, I feel my feet in my socks. I feel the life in my body. I feel the breath in my lungs. In this moment, as I sit in my apartment, everything is okay. That's big. Come back to the present moment when those stories happen. And remember that you're the life in your body, and remember that everything in this moment is okay. So that's a big one. Here's what he says about the external things actually giving us a sense of identity. So here's the thing. As a singer, as a musician, I have been singing and my voice has been my best friend since I was 2 years old. I've been singing in public since I was 2. And what that means is when people used to make fun of me in junior high, and then the next week they would ask me to sing a song for them because I had this great voice, it gave me a sense of identity. And so today, as I'm striving, as I'm trying to get to this certain level, it actually is so much a part of my identity that I think, okay, I have to get to this moment or I am not worthy. I have to get to this level. I have to have this much money. I have to sing in front of this many people and be desirable in this way, or I'm not worthy, right? Instead of thinking, no, because I am my essential self, I am worthy. I am worthiness. I am, just by being. So what he says here is, he says, when my toy breaks or is taken away, intense suffering arises. Not because of any intrinsic value that the toy has, the child will soon lose interest in it and will replace it by other toys, other objects, but because of the thought of mine. The toy became part of the child's developing sense of I, a part of his ego. And so, when you are thinking, if I lose this, whether it's my house, my job, my spouse, my whatever, when you're panicked about losing something, it's a red flag. We gotta go, okay, like when we have anxiety about losing it, we have to go, okay, why am I having anxiety? Because whatever it is that we're talking about has become a part of us in our minds. And so finding some space from that and like visualizing like, who am I as my essential self, my divine self? Who am I? I am, and I am complete, and I am worthy in this moment. So if I lost my voice tomorrow, it would be gutting to me because this work for me is not done. And it is so much a part of my identity that it gives me crazy anxiety all the time. But I see it as a red flag. Every time it comes up, I'm like, ooh, there it is again. So what is it in your life that you have brought in from the external world and made a part of who you are and made tantamount to your worth in its success or its realization? Something to think about. Even if it's like your kid or your relationship with your boyfriend, whatever it is, these talents that we develop especially, we take ownership of them and they're how we're known. Oh, that's Marla, she's an incredible singer, right? And so then, if I'm not an incredible singer, who am I? So I grab onto it and I make it something that I can be proud of so that I can kind of hide behind it that I feel really small, right? And I think that's how I see these people who their whole life is the gym, right? Because they're looking at themselves going like, okay, look at how good I look. Look at how good my body looks, but that's something that's going to pass away, right? It's something that's going to pass away. And so as we continue on this journey, how do we develop our presence and our knowledge about our essential self so that we feel okay when these external things go or change, right? And then we also feel open to whatever. Can we surrender these things, whatever they are, to the work of the universe so that then if it's time for them to go, if it's their season to die, okay, and we're open to the next thing, right? So like if you're somebody who is in love with working out and your body is your whole life, what happens if something happens to you physically? What happens when you get older, right? All of these things are important. She says that she has this entire crazy bulb showing, making her look younger. Oh, external things don't matter. I'm very confident. Anyway, we're working on it. The next thing he says is kind of connected to that. So it's sometimes letting go is an act of far greater power than defending or hanging on. So a life of surrender. Can you hold all the things you've been given with an open hand? And as they are yours, be grateful for them, but see them as you do the clouds in the sky on a windy day. Today, this is mine and I'm grateful for it. But when it's not anymore, I can let it go because it's not a part of who I am and my essential self and my worth. Yeah, that's so hard. I think religious people who are doing it right, they may have an easier time of this. If you really trust that God giveth and taketh away, right? then maybe they have an easier time going, God gave this to me and I'm going to use it and develop it while I have it. And if His will, like if you really trust God, then I think this is an easier thing to do. If you're somebody who grew up religious and the idea of trusting a male God makes you a little bit skittish, then it's a little bit of a harder road to get there. But honestly, Eckhart Tolle's books are an amazing way to kind of bring a religious upbringing into a life of learning to be present and develop that essential self that is divine, in my experience, at least. And lastly, he says, on a deeper level, you are already complete. And when you realize that, there is a joyous energy behind what you do. So, the anxiety about not being enough, not being able to, get to a certain level or look a certain way or get a certain mate or a certain job or whatever it is that makes you feel like you are incomplete. Can you imagine what it would be like if tomorrow you woke up and those things existed out here somewhere, and on an internal level, you knew you were complete? Not you'll be complete when you lose 10 pounds or when you have a baby or when you found the right spouse or the right job. You are complete. Can you imagine the joy that you would be able to go through your life with if you believed, as you're going out into the world, I am complete. I am in need of nothing. All of these things are temporary and I am grateful for them as I have them. And I trust that the universe has a plan. And so therefore, if I do get evicted from my apartment, there's something else coming. If you do lose your job, there's something else coming. So this week, my challenge to you is, if you cannot get there, where you can see that you are a complete creation, right, as you are, is to imagine what that would be like. How would your life on a day-to-day basis, at your job, with your kids, with your partner, how would your life be different if you were not striving for worthiness from external things? What would it be like? That's my question. If you are an anxiety person, I want to tell you everything is already okay. And something that helps me too that Eckhart Tolle says is, that Zen is doing one thing at a time, which means if you are laying in bed, breathing, watch and feel your stomach expand and contract, and only do that. Zen is doing one thing at a time. All right, my loves, this has been Church. If you're into it, please subscribe and ring the bell. We've got a lot more stuff coming up this year and I'm really excited about it. So, love you, mean it. We will see you next time.